Good morning, everyone, again. I'm happy to be able to share with you some really powerful things this morning. This morning I was dwelling on Act chapter 12. You know, the story where we read about how Jacob is being martyred, being beheaded, and then they take Peter and they put him in prison. And they keep him there over the weekend because the Pharisees didn't want to kill on the holiday. And they kept him there, waited for Monday to come, and then they expected everything to be okay to behead even Peter, the leader or the senior pastor, senior apostle of the church in Jerusalem. Now, this is a very, very tragic event happening in the church of Jerusalem, and at the same time it's quite exciting. The book of Acts is giving a very realistic picture of the very authentic picture of what was really going on. And I think it's important that we read this with an open mind and we don't stay focused on the negative part. I mean, the negative part here is that James is being killed. And then, of course, it's negative that Peter is in prison. But the response from the church in Jerusalem, we must say, is very positive. It says in the Bible that they were praying, and we understand later they were gathering outside the city wall, outside Jerusalem, in the house of the mother of John Mark, who later became a team member. I mean, not the mother, but John Mark became a team member of, together with Paul and Barnabas for a while. And the church was praying there, intense. And something was definitely going on. It says that in the middle of the night, an angel appeared to Peter. And he told him, stand up, put your sandals and your mantle on, and I will lead you out of the prison. And Peter thought he was dreaming. He wasn't even aware of that he was awake. But he did exactly what the angel said, and to his surprise, the chains that he was locked with disappeared. And the angel led him out without the guards even seeing them. And they came to the gate of the city, which usually, of course, was closed at night. But the gate opened up by itself, it says. And when they came through the gate, Peter woke up. And he thought he had been dreaming, but then he realized that this is not a dream. I have really had, first of all, an encounter with a real angel, and that angel has actually delivered me out of prison. And he has opened up this door that nobody can open up at night time. Everything here is supernatural. And then it says that Peter come to his own, and it's such a miracle they hardly believe that it's Peter when he's standing outside the door banging, wanted to come in. I was reading this story and meditating on this story for different reasons. First of all, I love the story, and every time I'm in Jerusalem, I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking about actually all the supernatural things that happened in the first church in Jerusalem. I'm trying to think about and trying to imagine myself how it was back then. But I was also focusing on this because I wanted to talk about the same subject I started off, I spoke about last time. I spoke about angelic activities. And I spoke about how in Psalm 91, God is saying through David that he has given his angel charge over me. And the angels are with me all the time, and they protect me. This is such a very powerful promise. And here in the book of Acts chapter 12 we see that a promise being manifested in the life of Peter. Now, I would like to tell you a story, which is one of those supernatural stories that I have. And actually, I think in this story, I will talk about something that I believe, someone that I believe was an angel intervening into my life, into our situation. Now, I want you to listen carefully to this. Maybe some of you have heard me tell this story before, but some of you have never heard it. And this is actually a story from the middle of the 80s, 1980s. This is while it was still communistic regimes in all those countries behind the Iron Curtain. And me personally have been involved already in many of those nations, and we had seen some major breakthroughs already actually into some of those places, in spite of the harsh communist rulership. And I'm going to talk to you about Prague, and at that time Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia had been in my heart for many years, ever since I lived together with my wife in Vienna. You know, Austria is a neighboring nation to Czechoslovakia. During our stay there in Vienna, we did visit Czechoslovakia sometimes. So we were inside and praying, and the ministry we were working together with, or the mission we were involved in, they also had activity, underground activity into that nation. So we were quite aware of the situation. I was aware of that it was very, very harsh, communistic regime, almost like in the Soviet Union. A little bit different, but it was almost like that. And it was very common that they put even foreigners in prison if they caught them doing religious activity. So when the Holy Spirit spoke to me about Prague, and that happened during a conference in Uppsala. I never forget this. It was a prophetess. Her name was Bobby Jean Merck, and she came. This was in the middle of the 80s, and I was yet not a part of the Word of Life, like that's why I would be working with them. But I was very much involved in mission, and I did help Word of Life bringing teams once in a while into the areas where I had mission activity. But I was officially not employed or anything by Word of Life. I lived by faith, and I covered all my cost myself, and that worked very well. But in this conference, I remember I was sitting on the balcony in our auditorium, and suddenly this woman, she just stopped, and she pointed up towards the balcony, and she shouted, "I'm giving some of you a mandate to go into Prague and to tear down the stronghold of Satan there." And when she said it, I remember, I just immediately knew she's talking about me and my friend Michael. But I took it personally. I said, she's talking about me. And so on my way out, I spoke to Michael, I remember, and I said, we have to go to Prague, to Czech Republic. And I decided immediately. I think I went actually only the week after, because I was already then scheduled to go to Romania and even Yugoslavia to do some mission there. And at that time we were driving cars, so I thought we can pass by Prague on our way back home when we go on this journey. And we did those plans. I made those plans. The problem was I didn't have any connection in Czechoslovakia or in Prague. So I did contact some other mission organization. You know, at that time, the mission organization that were working in the communist country, they were more secret than the other. So you never knew who you were talking about. They all had different names, and people were very, very careful in giving out contacts. But I succeeded to get a contact in Prague. And the man who gave it to me was an old man. And he said, this is an old man living in Prague, but this is the only contact I have, but you can try to contact him. And at that time, you know, we didn't have email or internet or anything like that, so everything had to be by hand or by feet. So I said to a few friends of mine that were scheduled to go with me on this trip that we will do a stopover as well in Prague. And they were excited about that because they liked adventure just like I liked adventure. But when I was praying for Prague and praying for this trip, I knew in my spirit that this is a strategic trip. I just knew it. And on our way into Prague, to Czech Republic, I remember we were crossing the border, and the first thing we met was a hitchhiker. And I was so geared up and so full of the Spirit. So I remember I put him on the front seat. I told the guy that was sitting there to sit in the back seat, and I started to preach to this guy, and he knew English and German, and I know both of the languages. And after 10 minutes only, he was like in tears, and he wanted to receive Jesus. We stopped on a parking lot, and we prayed for him for salvation. And then I started talking to him about the baptism of the Holy Spirit, and immediately he got baptized in the Holy Spirit.